E.T. phone home. To tell all of his friends to listen to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Justin and Sheta, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we will be chronicling the beginning of Mistborn, the Hero of Ages, going through the prologue up until Chapter 5. So now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe! Thank you, Joe. Yep, everyone, once again, Cosmere Chronicles, same as normal. And same as normal, I'm joined by Sheta and Justin. How are you two doing?
Well, don't sound too excited, jeez.
I'm great. I'm excited. I'm ready.
All right, that's good. And then the real excitement comes because we actually have a special guest this week. Over from the Cosmere Connections podcast, we have Reader Warrior.
Woo!
Howdy doody.
Yep. So bringing in a new, fresh perspective. Granted, he has read all the books before.
You bring in a fresh new guest and suddenly we're just chopped liver, is that it?
I would not call my viewage of the Cosmere fresh.
An old master, then.
Ooh, I like that.
There you go.
He'll be the Sifo Diaz of the Master Sifo Diaz of the group.
Ooh.
Why would you make him Sifo Diaz? Things don't go well for that guy.
Just setting the stage for what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think first, for people who don't know, I'll just have Reader Warrior explain his podcast and his experience with Brandon Sanderson and the Cosmere.
So if I remember correctly, I was at a Barnes & Noble's, and as a book kid, I went there quite frequently. And so much so, we actually had a friend who worked there, and they recommended the Mistborn series. And on my first read-through, I did not really care for it, and I had the most amount of difficulty reading The Final Empire. It wasn't until I was at a Boy Scout event that I sat down, reread it, and really enjoyed it. And it wasn't until a few months later that I really fell in love with it, because I found out that the worlds interconnect. And as for our podcast, we're called Cosmere Connections. We're doing something similar to you guys, where we're reading through, except we don't have anybody that's new to the Cosmere yet. And we do a chapter set by chapter set, very similar to you guys, but we also do a spoiler section. So we'll discuss things in Elantris like, oh, they need to fix the router Aeon, or in the Well of Ascension, oh, Zane's controlling TenSoon, and he sent TenSoon to go replace Orsier.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then just for fun, we'll also ask you who's your favorite Mistborn character.
Elend.
Ooh.
Yep. 100%, no takebacks. Elend.
Nice and fast.
Oh, we're not going to get along. That's good.
Oh, trust me, I'm aware.
Well, none of us hate Elend. We just give him a little bit of a harder time.
I've always liked Elend. What are you guys talking about?
Well, I have some things to say, but we'll wait for this to start.
I seem to remember somebody saying that Zane's spirit is going to inhabit Elend and possess him over the course of this book.
Yeah, I wonder
Still
who
better.
that was.
Oh.
Don't spoil it for me, Joe.
Yeah.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
She's just trying to find any way for Vin and Zane to get together.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
And if
There's
it
a
wasn't,
lot
that's what fanfiction's for.
Oh, don't bring up fan fiction. I tried to look that up for Sheta, and I regret my decision.
Yeah, we found some. Oh, we should put it in our
No.
description, Joe.
No.
No. That will just
least-
anger people.
You could put my fanfiction in the description.
Ooh,
Is it
your
about
fanfiction?
Zane and Vin?
No.
Then okay. That sounds good.
Is it about Ellen insane?
No.
Okay.
My two Mistborn fanfics are Vin ending up on a different universe and having to deal with that.
Oh,
Now, that
that's
sounds a lot
interesting,
more
too.
exciting than what Joe was digging up for us.
No, not for us. for Sheta specifically. I knew Justin would not like it. And yeah.
No, I told you to make it required reading, but you wouldn't allow
Yeah, I guess we'll go from there. No need for questions this week because we spent time learning about Reader Warrior. So
Thank you.
we'll start off by doing a recap of Well of Ascension, and we will have our guest go over the recap of that book.
Total shocker. I have nothing prepared.
it. Yep.
Haven't even
Welcome to
read
the
it.
podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a year since Vin went all stabby on the Lord Ruler, and not everything is going great. Vin is too busy jumping off buildings and murdering assassins. Elend, our cinnamon roll of a king, can't seem to get democracy to work in a world where unlicensed surgery solves everything. And Sazed is trying very hard to preach just religions, but no one seems to care. Enter Zane, the edgy Mistborn maybe love interest nobody asked for. Turns out he's Elend's half-brother, and their dad, Straffventure, is here to take the city. The drugs his mistress keeps sneaking into his tea probably aren't helping, as Luthadel shortly has 2 armies surrounding it. This one by a man named Set and his silver fox chasing daughter Albrienne. Sazed runs into Marsh, who seems to be having a bad year, and takes him to find a metal journal with the instructions, "Do not copy unless using metal paper." So of course Sazed takes a rubbing. Speaking of bad years, Vin can't seem to decide who she is. Is she the hero? Is she the killer? What even is a Mistborn? As Zane whispers into her ear, trying to get her to drive off into the sunset with him, terrorist badass Tyndall shows up and starts beating Elend into something people will actually listen to. Oh, and if 2 armies isn't bad enough, Sazed returns from his vacation saying there's another, and it's made out of koloss. He also says he found a bunch of prophecies about the Hero of Ages, and that the Mist are unaliving people. After a quick luncheon with the family, Elend is removed from the throne, placing one of Straff's henchmen on it. Vin and her pet dog /Condra, or Sierra, grow close and talk about how much humans suck. Strangely, her guard dog doesn't seem to do anything when her stalker Zane shows up to take her away. Vin decides to stay, and Zane spirals hard, since the voice in his head that told him to kill everyone implied she was special. It turns out that Orsier is actually TenSoon, Zane's pet dog /Condra. Zane dies, TenSoon runs home, and Vin finally accepts that she's not just a weapon and prepares to run away with Elend. While they follow a fake treasure map to unlimited power, the koloss begin their attack on the city. Sadly, Tyndall, who had just professed her feelings for Sazed, dies, big death flag on the play, along with a bunch of other people. However, Vin realized she was being tricked and returns, pulling out the ultimate power move by dominating the koloss mentally and making them her own personal soldiers. Straff gets killed, and Vin makes everyone take the knee, even paraplegic Set. Elend comes home, finding out he's now Emperor, and helps Vin find the real Well of Ascension. Sazed noticed something's weird about the prophecies, and that the friendly Mist Spirit Guardian is part paper shredder. Before he could stop Vin and Elend, Marsh returns and makes quick work out of Sazed. Although he's knocked out with a whack to the head by clubs, Marsh is able to stall him long enough for Vin to release the malevolent entity trapped inside. And just when you think it can't get any crazier, Elend is given a magic nugget that turns him into a Mistborn because he deserves it. Sazed figures out all religions are fake, and Vin realizes she may have destroyed the world.
Yay!
How's that?
See,
Solid.
if people wanted to, people could just skip our last 12 episodes and they're good.
I think some of the color commentary might shade their interpretation of it if they just skipped it.
100% biased towards Elend.
I see that you failed to neglect how awesome Straff was in your description.
Also,
Right.
yeah. That Vin was very close to choosing Zane before he died.
Yes.
And
But she wasn't choosing him as a love interest, she was choosing him as a path of being a Mistborn.
That may be a more accurate reading of the story, but we don't do accuracy around here.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't get a point of inspiration because you said Vin went stabby in the Lord Ruler, when in fact she only stabbed him once.
Jeez.
It's very technical. Yep, this is what we have to do.
She stabbed at his shadow.
Yeah.
All right, you get your point of inspiration. Granted, you did not talk about Alrianne enough.
I'm sorry.
All right.
She is one of my favorites.
All right, so yeah, this week we started off where we went, prologue through chapter 5 because this book will be doing larger chunks since the chapters are a lot shorter. So, Justin, Sheta, how are you two liking these chapters this week?
There's a lot more action than I expected, but I believe the last book started with a bit of action, so I should have seen that coming.
Yeah, we just jumped right into it, and I really like
Mhm.
that. Also, got a bunch of kind of mind-blowing realizations. That was faster than I expected to.
Yeah, I think both this book and the last book, you get the action right away at the beginning, just as a quick reminder of, here are the medals, here's what they can do quickly to remind you, since it's been a year since you last read the last book.
Yeah, I like the way it was recapped better in this one. I know if you took a year between, you would have forgotten a lot, but because we just finished, I found how the detail they went into a little more tedious than the last time. This time it was so fast. They were like, you know what it is. We're just kind of reminding you of it and
You know
letting you
how
know
it
little
is.
bits that have changed. Yeah, basically. So I
Yeah.
appreciated that.
This is a quick tutorial, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't read them, but I've heard the Dresden File books. People have said, like, each book, you get the same exact descriptions for all the characters every time.
Oh, jeez. Is that
So
like a series, though, or is that like a
Yeah.
thing like this? Because if it's a series, then you could assume it's somebody's first, maybe. That'd be the reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't read it fully. I think it's like a series, maybe like a Sherlock Holmes sort of thing, where each is a self-contained story.
Yeah, because then I could see that making sense, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then, we'll just get right into these chapters. Then we start off with the prologue, and so like I said last week when I read the first chapter or read the first sentence, Marsh struggles to kill himself. Whenever his mind is clear, he tries to move his hand up and remove the linchpin, but then the entity takes control of his body and stops him. So, neither of you got the whose point of view will we get first, because it's
Hey,
Marsh.
on a technicality, this is a prologue. I totally got it right if you don't count the prologue.
Yeah, but
What did you say?
we weren't supposed to bring that up until we got to chapter 1.
Oh, I'm sorry for spoiling it for those who haven't read yet. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know,
but
Reader
those-
Warrior, you've never read this book, so this is all new for you, yeah?
Absolutely not. I'll listen to you guys cover whichever chapter you're on, pause, read that chapter, unpause, read the next chapter.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Man, I read one podcast where a guy, it was a One Piece podcast, he would read a chapter of One Piece, record his reaction to that one chapter, like a 4 or 5 minute thing, read the next chapter. So it was pretty, instead of having somebody recap like a whole bunch of stuff, it's just recapping one chapter at a time. You really get the ups and downs of their emotions as they go through a story. Which, it'd be similar if we decide to do this, and if we did just the prologue, talk about it, just chapter 1, talk about it, and then edit it all together. It'd be a different experience, but it would be so much more work.
Yeah. So tedious. We're like, okay, Joe, finish the chapter. Okay, let's do it. And then next chapter.
All right, so we'll continue on. So, Marsh is in a room with other Steel Inquisitors. And in the room, there is a table with a terrace steward strapped onto it. The terraceman tries to plead and says he doesn't know anything more about the Synod. Underneath him, there is another person that's in grooves that are built into the table. That way you can strap one person on top of the other.
Ugh.
And every time I think these guys are as fucked up as they can be, he adds in something like this. I'm like, jeez, God.
They're like freaking Hellraiser, like Xenobite things. Like,
yeah.
Why are
I
they
keep
so
thinking
messed
Brandon
up?
Sanderson's such a nice guy.
This is where he dumps all this effed up shit. Like,
I guess so, jeez.
that's perfect. And you put it all on your villains, and then save all the good stuff for your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems to be the way he does it, because his good guys are always very good.
The Inquisitor stuff has been the most messed up stuff in the Cosmere, I think, today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff, or Cayman's death always comes to mind.
Yeah.
Which the Steel
Oh, yeah,
Inquisitors did, didn't they?
Yep.
Cosmere.
Yep, they
There
did.
you go.
All right, then. And then Marsh enjoys the screams of pain and terror from the man.
Ugh.
And then Marsh comes back to his senses, and the horror of everything happening just disgusts him. This terrace man is a good man. So Marsh once again begins to move to kill himself, but then he is taken over again. And we learn that the entity's name is Ruin, and the Inquisitors are its arms. It does not have full power yet. There is still something else suppressing it, and it is looking for something. And
Dun,
Ruin
dun,
is
dun.
looking for something. Pronouns.
Okay.
And then Marsh picks up a spike and goes over to the man on the table. He will drive the spike through the man's heart and into the body of the person underneath. Hemalurgy was a messy art, and that is why it was so much fun.
Hey, boy.
I like them revealing how this works because we've always been curious, obviously, but through a Steel Inquisitor's perspective. So they don't give us the full details, but they drop what they call it, hemalurgy, and then we get to see just how messed up it is from the perspective of somebody who seems to be really having a good time.
Yeah. I'm glad we get to see how that mess was made at their base in the last book. We just saw the aftermath, like a bunch of blood.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, when Sazed and Marsh were exploring the Venticle.
Fun fact, it's believed this is that same exact place.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting.
Reusing sets, man, they're lazy.
Yeah. Cheap bastards.
Yeah, because in that one, it was Sazed going through and thinking, yeah, these are all like torture devices, and seeing a lot of spikes just lying around.
Yeah, you're right.
Dried blood specks. Yeah. Good
And
stuff.
we also kind of learned what happened in Final Empire when they thought Marsh had died.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because they had showed up to the one place, just saw body parts and just blood everywhere. And later Marsh just said, yeah, making Steel Inquisitor is messy.
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't take him seriously enough.
So how are the two of you feeling about Marsh right now after reading the prologue?
I really like getting to see a sense of what's going on inside of him because he just says, I don't know in the previous book, acting all weird. I like getting to see that he has a strong enough will that he's having this internal struggle. And it really makes me wonder what some of the other Steel Inquisitors are like, if they're having similar things or if they're all people with a weaker will.
Yeah, like if they already had kind of evil tendencies in them, they might just be like, yeah, now I'm finally in my true form. Like,
Well, also, if they even have much individuality anyway, like the person who it was before, it sounds like for Marsh that but the thing controlling them basically wants to override their personality with just pure evil sadism.
yeah. Depends on, I feel like, how long these Inquisitors have been Inquisitors too. I'm sure they might have like lost a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Marsh is relatively new, I think. So.
And he tricked them into becoming one too. Like,
Yes, he was never a bad guy.
Yeah. He had a totally different situation than I imagine a lot of them do.
Mm-hmm.
I also thought it was funny because I'm like, they're going to turn this terroristman into a Steel Inquisitor. And then they're like, no, they're going to pound through his heart to the guy below. I was like, Jesus Christ.
It's kind of extra. Like,
now you know why they went to Terrace in Well of Ascension.
Yeah.
Is that a requirement?
I didn't know they were so valuable.
Did they say, like, you need one terroristman to make a Inquisitor? Like,
well, we don't know the details yet.
Or they just want to do it for fun. Like,
I would have to imagine that, I mean, I don't know, but like, the terrorists have a specific different, I don't know, physiology of some sort. They might be stealing it, That could be why he's been breeding them all along, instead of just wiping them out completely.
Oh, yeah, just using their parts, right?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Harvesting their terrorist parts.
They called it hemiology, so assumedly it's some blood metal combination nightmare thing. Not hemiology. What did they call it?
Hematology.
Hemalurgy. That's what I meant to say, yes. Hematology is a normal thing. So I'm curious to see what more information we get about this stuff, because this was a very fun part. Just not for that guy.
Anything else from this chapter anybody wants to go over?
Ooh. Did you guys ever go back to Well of Ascension, find out where they mentioned Ruin's name?
No. Yeah, I remember you said that last podcast, Joe. I was sure that it was just going to be something like... At the time, I thought you were like, yep, see? Because he was Les de Bornes, like she'd always predicted. They did say his name in the book.
No. It was one conversation that Vin was having with TenSoon.
Mm-hmm.
Said you are of Ruin when referring to Vin. And if you read the physical book, it was capital R.
That's fascinating. I did read the physical, and I did not catch the capitalized. That's such an interesting thing to do.
Yeah,
So
that is one.
TenSoon knows stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is one thing that not just here, but in kind of like in Elantris, door was always capitalized. In other books, like there will be certain words that Brandon Sanderson will capitalize. So it's something that you would not get in the audiobook, but you get reading a physical copy.
I didn't get it, so it's hidden well enough.
And
Guess
then
I
there
thought
was
he
also,
was just being dramatic.
and then there was also me in my little humble brag where I was hinting at it.
Oh yeah, you read the exact line.
Well, not just that. In Final Empire, when I asked for Justin Sheta for their theories on what the entire trilogy will be, Justin said, "I think Lord Rule will be defeated, then something behind him will come and try to destroy anything." So what I said is, "All right, so you think the Lord Rule will die, then something else bigger and worse will come and try to ruin the planet."
Yeah,
Oh,
I
come
remember
on,
that.
come
I
on.
remember that.
Don't make me look like a fool with that shit. No, I didn't catch that at all. I did not think anything of that.
I'm so jealous of you guys getting to read this book for the first time. Like, Chemalurgy ruined. You guys have no idea the world that you just stepped into.
Yeah.
You think you know, but you don't.
Oh, God.
All right, so we'll move on to the numbered chapters now. We're starting off with part 1 of this book called Legacy of the Survivor, chapter 1. And then the first epigraph. I am, unfortunately, the hero of ages.
You know, what I thought when I read this is a little different than what I thought in later ones of these, so I thought very interesting. I was really curious to start and say who is going to be doing the epigraphs now.
Yeah, I just thought this is Vin's diary.
Vin's diary.
Yeah.
Do you not think it's Vin's diary?
Well, I mean, it switches between a lot of things, so it could be Vin's diary. It's one of my theories right now.
Well, we know what it's not based on later chapters. That's what I can say.
And it's worded kind of differently, so yeah, I don't know.
All right, so
But
chapter
yes,
1...
when I started this, I was very excited to see, how'd I forget the name already? The guy who stole the power from the well.
Rashek.
Yeah, Rashek. I'm like, oh, we're following Rashek's point of view, was what the first thing I thought was. Like, he's like, oh, I've stolen the power. I guess I'm the hero, but it does not.
He's
turn out to be
never
that.
been the hero.
Yeah, well.
All right, so chapter 1 begins with everybody's favorite character and the hero of ages, Fatrin.
I don't know where
So,
you're getting half of this, but
I was like, what?
Oh, I spoiled the ending of the book. But, so yeah. So if we skip the prologue, Justin's prediction of the book starting with a new character is correct.
the only thing was I thought our new character was going to die horribly immediately.
This is not a Song of Ice and Fire.
I guess not.
All right, so we start off with Fatrin and Drufel, and they're in the city of Vetiton, wondering if the world is ending.
All those names just sound made, like totally made up when you said it. Like the way you pronounced them, like you'd forgotten everything and you're seeing if we'll notice.
All words are made up.
Yeah, those sounded like he just came up with them off the top of his head.
Yeah, I did not listen to the audiobook this time, so I do not know how Michael Kramer pronounced them.
It's
right.
It's Druffle that rhymes with truffle.
Then Druffel says it doesn't matter because an army of koloss are coming to the city, so they will all be dead before the day is over anyways. Fatrin mentions that the mists are now staying out past noon and the crops are not getting enough sun. And he thinks about, their past, and he had trained their civilians to fight, but they only have about 1,000 troops. He doesn't know if they can hold out against koloss. And then a man rides up to the city wearing a dark cloak and riding on a horse. When he gets to the gate, he leaps up onto the top of the bulwark. He is wearing a white uniform underneath the cloak. And then the man allimantically pulls the sword from Druffel's hand and compliments the sword. The man says that he is their emperor, Elend Venture.
Come on, Sheta, that's pretty badass. Does that not win you any points? Yeah.
It's a little over the top.
Oh yeah, this is the Zane fangirl.
If I was Zane, I'd roll my eyes. I'd be like, all right.
In the grave.
Take it down a notch. Yeah.
And Elend also has a beard now. And Elend immediately takes charge of the defenses and organizes everyone. And he implies that Fatrin had written to him for help, and Fatrin decides to play along because it's Elend's way of letting Fatrin be able to keep some integrity and leadership. And then Elend tells him that he is bringing 2 armies with him. Then Elend and Fatrin walk and they talk privately. And Elend tells him that after this is over, he will have to bend the knee. And he informs him that the Koloss army is 10,000 strong. Elend and Fatrin arrive at the gate, and Elend gives instructions to the troops as to how to fight the Koloss. The soldiers seem to be getting calm while listening to him, so to me it's clear that he's using soothing and stuff on them. And then the Koloss arrive outside the city and begin to set up camp. Elend says that they will attack the Koloss right now. If they allow the Koloss to get settled and then get themselves into a blood fury, then everything will be much worse. Attacking them, while the Koloss had just finished a march, will lead to greater success. So Elend leaves the city and charges towards the Koloss. Fatrin finds himself and the rest of the soldiers following behind.
I like how he gives the guy an out to save face in front of his men, because when Elend came up like this, I'm like, Jesus, is this even Elend anymore? This, coming up all scary as shit, just dominating everyone and telling him what to do. That little moment where he says, "Oh yes, you sent for me," and gives him that opportunity, that really made me feel like he was still himself and was, still one considerate of other people, and he's still smart and thinking about what's going to be best for the people politically and stuff. Having everyone still respect their ruler here, I think is quite smart, because he's obviously wants somebody that can be trusted, or that the people trust, to stay here and lead. Just that.
That's very thoughtful.
Mhm.
You could just take it over, but you're gonna have to fight them the whole time.
It's the big difference between just a tyrant and what Elend has become, which is more of an actual emperor king kind of thing, like a wiser one.
I really liked seeing how knowledgeable he was about fighting Koloss. You don't want to do that. You want to get them before they get into a blood frenzy. You gotta, take them out like this. I was like, how long have they been fighting Koloss for? He seems to be an expert now.
About a year.
Yeah, that's cool.
Jeez, a year fighting Koloss. My God. No, thank you. Just that
Yeah.
one day seemed bad enough.
I like him using seeing him use his new allomancy powers and all the things he learned from Tyndall as to be a good leader too. So this is Elend at his final form. I feel like.
Yeah, personally, I feel like Elend is a bad king, but he's a good emperor.
Yeah.
I'm just going to remain silent on that.
And
If
as
we
a
had
great
video,
king, you sons of bitches.
Oh.
I think
perfect.
Elend would be a good modern king, but I don't think he'd be a good war king. I think that's more what I'd say. I think they even say that a little later, am I, is this the right thing to do and stuff? Am I not a tyrant? And they talk about how he, he is what he needs to be, basically, maybe in a different time, yada yada.
Well, I'm more mean it, because if he became a king now, he'd still be a good, but when he was technically king, nothing was going for him, people weren't listening to him, and then he lost the throne. By the time that made him learn how to be a ruler, so by the time he came back to rule, he was technically an emperor. So when he was a king, he was not a good king, but ever since he became an emperor, he's been a much better ruler.
I'll agree with that. I agree. I really like that the 2 strongest women that taught him the most are Tyndall, who taught him how to be a good leader, and Vin, who taught him how to be a good Mistborn.
Makes me wonder if he had followed his initial instincts and told Tyndall to just leave, how things would be now.
Maybe it's part of being a good king to listen to good counsel.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
So he did have it in him to be good.
All right. So we'll go on to chapter 2. All right, so epigraph. And just warning, this book, some of these epigraphs will get pretty long.
Yeah.
Holding the power did strange things to my mind. In just a few moments, I became familiar with the power itself, with its history, and with the ways it might be used. Yet, this knowledge was different from experience, or even ability to use that power. For instance, I knew how to move a planet in the sky. Yet I didn't know where to place it so that it wouldn't be too close or too far from the sun.
That was absolutely crazy. When they talked about remaking the world, I took it with a bit of a grain of salt, but that is a power beyond what I would have ever guessed that thing would
Yeah,
have.
come again? Like,
Yeah.
like,
It also answers something I was really curious about, which was what they, like, in the previous book, she was just like, she just knew she could reshape the world. I was so curious on the details, I didn't think I'd actually get them, though. What it's like to have this power.
Man, I wish I could explain the magic and how this all works.
Oh yeah, I'm sure by the end of all this, it'll be very interesting. How frustrating is it to be on this style of podcast where you got to zip your mouth shut the entire time?
It's perfect because I get to listen to you guys theorize about everything. I probably just like Joe, just sit back and like silently cackle and tap my fingers like a James Bond villain.
Yeah. Feel free to mute your mic like Joe and just like have a chuckle.
Oh yeah, I do that
Those
plenty.
dumb bastards.
No, usually you have to mute my mic when you guys are just like, you say a theory that's correct, because I don't want you to hear me laughing at how correct you are. There are podcasts sometimes where I'll listen to them too, and yeah, it's frustrating when somebody says like close to correct, but then they just say one thing. It's like, no, that's the wrong direction. Go the other way.
Like Sazed being a robot.
Yeah. That is in the right direction,
God,
right?
No.
Being the Lord Ruler from the future.
Hey, that hasn't been
Those kinds of theories.
confirmed true yet.
Kelsier still being alive somehow. Those kinds of theories.
Hey.
Yeah.
It could be in there.
I'm still counting on the
Kelsier
Force
is
Ghosts.
Sazed confirmed, right, Sheta?
All right, so Chapter 2, we start off with TenSoon. He's back.
Yay!
But things aren't looking well for him, because TenSoon is a prisoner in a pit with a locked grate on the top. And he does not have any bones, so he's pretty much just a mass of muscle. It has been months and months since he has been in here. He has the blessing of presence, which has helped to keep him from going mad. And TenSoon is in here because he broke his contract. He betrayed his master and helped someone else, which caused the death of his master. This would normally be punishable by death. However, he is being kept prisoner because he had betrayed his people's secrets. They will now wind up becoming slaves again. And he had informed the second generation of this. And they hadn't killed him because they want to know who he has told. And we learn a little bit about the Kandra, because TenSoon, he says that he's part of the third generation. And he's quite old. All right. And then TenSoon, he feels he doesn't have any eyeballs, he doesn't have any ears or anything, because he's just a mass of muscle. But he feels vibrations, and he knows that someone is coming. So he is expecting food and water to be poured in the pit, because that's what they've been doing. But instead, hooks come down and pull him out. And he knows they simply cannot kill him because of the first contract. However, he can smell acid. And then the people who pulled him out, they drop a skull onto him. And then they begin to pour acid onto him. So part of the rules is he's allowed to ask for judgment. So what they did is they gave him the skull. So technically, he has a chance. But they are trying to kill him before he is able to form the parts needed to speak.
That's tricksy.
Yep, and so TenSoon, like I said, he's part of the third generation, and he has spent most of his time out on contracts. So he's a lot more skilled than the second generation people expect. So he's very quickly is able to form a mouth and lungs, and he says the word judgment. They stop pouring the acid, and they try to tell him that he does not want that. But he says it again. So now he will be put on trial in front of all the Kandra. Instead of being killed, if he is found guilty, then he will be put in a pit for all eternity. And he thinks about how if he spoke, it will not be to defend himself. It would be for other reasons. And that's the chapter.
This might have been my favorite chapter because ever since we saw the mist wraiths, I really wondered what it's like to be a creature like that. So having TenSoon in his mind explain to us what it's like to have be a mass of muscle but not have any eyes, and consider making them, but they'd be crushed if you have a skull and stuff like that, and how he can like smell and taste his own excrement, which I was surprised they had, but he wouldn't get rid of it because that was his only contact to the world around him. All of that I just found so incredibly interesting to read about. I would never have expected to get a chapter like this.
I knew you'd like this chapter.
Yeah.
This is some kind of thing and Cronenberg monster chapter.
Yeah, but it's interesting because those monster types don't usually have like they don't
Yeah,
think the way we do, but the
intelligence like
Khandra
that, yeah.
do, so that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I like the part where he describes having more space to have his muscle mass expand to, and that it kind
Yeah,
of hurt.
and it's gross.
Yeah, just so I want to see this in live action.
I think I'm just mostly shocked that they have excrement. That really surprised me.
And that they had to eat. Like, that's
Hmm.
weird.
Well, did we ever see them eat before? I don't remember.
He ate
He,
meat as a
yeah, he
doggy.
mentioned that. Yeah, he eats he eats meat, and that Khandra prefer aged meat, so
Oh
something more
yeah,
like
yeah,
old.
The
yeah.
side of
I
maggot.
remember.
Ew.
So we knew they ate. I guess I never put that other part together with that.
Hmm. Gosh,
I
I'm
kind of thought
so
they just
curious.
absorbed it. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I'm just so curious to learn more about them because that it's so fascinating to me that them and the koloss are alive, and I wonder how they're alive and like what they are and stuff.
And after all this mystery on how you kill the Khandra, is the answer really the same as a tune in Roger Rabbit?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's weird.
I love how much it says about TenSoon that they gave him a skull to be able to speak and fully
Mhm.
did not expect him to be able to, but in like 30 seconds, he was able to form what he needed.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
he's
badass.
badass.
Hmm.
Just makes me like him more because he's really good. And it's like these non-working types don't know how good I am. But Justin, you just gave me a new theory though. That's crazy.
Oh God, what
Just
have
that
I
they're
done?
toons.
That they're tunes.
They're
What
from
is that?
they're from a world where they're more like cartoons.
Hmm.
Maybe even like imagination and stuff.
Like the essence of creation is what you're saying, right? Not actual imagination. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But yes,
Yeah, I could.
that idea in that direction. Because they are always forming and changing and stuff like that. You know?
I think it's really interesting when he is aware that, because I was thinking the exact same thing. How are you thinking? You know, how are you
Mm-hmm.
alive? And when he's like, I don't really know. I thought that was fascinating too.
Yeah.
It's always interesting when a creature that makes no sense is aware it makes no sense.
Yeah, but it has its own weird logic, which is so
Yeah, there's
always
rules
throws
to
me.
it, but that doesn't mean they understand it all. Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
its own weird logic. That's a tagline for the Cosmere right there.
Well, I'm glad to see him. This is the number one character I wanted to see in this book, so
Yeah, you're already doing better than Justin last time. Want to see more Lady Kliss?
yeah.
She'll come. She's coming.
I think she's done. She's probably dead.
She's coming.
Even though you kept just calling him Orsier throughout the whole book, and it's like, nah, it's never going to be TenSoon.
Oh yeah, did you call him TenSoon now, Sheta?
I'm reluctantly calling him that, since that's his name. But it'll always be Orsier in my heart.
Orsier is long dead.
Yeah,
We are now like a full book after he died.
I still feel so sad for that. Don't remind me. That's my saddest
yeah,
death. He didn't get to have this emotional arc he could have had.
it's okay with me because I don't think he would have ever had that arc because he's not TenSoon. You know, only TenSoon
Uh-huh.
would have had that arc. Because TenSoon
Well, it's
seems to be
interesting.
the badass
Oh,
Khandra. You know.
if TenSoon is a much older Khandra,
Mm-hmm.
then that could lead to why he was more willing to, you know, think about things the way he did. But I don't know. I guess you could say the same about a young one. So I don't know.
Oh, because Renew was kind of flat and stuff. You know. So I feel like Orsier, just from seeing his mind right now, he seems much more complex. And maybe that's because he's done a lot of work and he's
I
absorbed a lot of people.
that I could not say.
Would it be spoilers to say what generation Orsier is of?
Do we learn it later?
Okay.
I don't know, but in all honesty, I don't think that's that big a deal. That's not really a book-shattering thing.
I'm deathly
Oh.
curious.
I'll keep quiet then.
I'd say he's a newer one. What do you think, Justin?
Oh, I have no guess. I have no guess whatsoever.
Oh, you know
All
what?
right.
I take it back. I think he's older.
Well, I don't know. Third generation sounds really old, and he implied that a lot of even like the older generations had already kind of retired. So I
Yeah.
doubt it. I would assume he's newer.
I think he might be the same as Orseer now or TenSoon, because he also strayed from the path and was rebellious with Kelsier, you know? So he started to think differently, just like how TenSoon is thinking differently.
Was he really rebellious? He was just doing what his contract told him to do.
Uh, I guess. I guess I don't really know how he came into Kelsier's possession.
So what we had is we were told early in Final Empire, Kelsier had told Doxson that he had to use the last of his ATM to buy Orseer's contract.
Oh, so he bought him. Okay. Then if he's a work in Khandra, he's probably a younger
Jeez.
one. Yeah, younger then.
Well, how many generations do you think there are?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Okay, first and second are the old ones. Third ones are the ones that are kind of working. The younger ones seem to just kind of be in training. So I don't know. I don't know that much about them, I guess.
My role here is just to make you guys question everything.
All right. Well, we'll move on to chapter 3. In some ways, having such power was too overwhelming, I think. This was a power that would take millennia to understand. Remaking the world would have been easy had one been familiar with the power. Yet, I realized the danger inherent in my ignorance. Like a child suddenly given awesome strength, I could have pushed too hard and left the world a broken toy I could never repair. So we begin the chapter, and Elend leads the army into battle against the koloss. And his army, they are able to hold their own against the koloss. And during the battle, Elend is spending his time also soothing the emotions of the soldiers to help them keep going. But he's not able to take control of the koloss because they are being controlled by someone else. And we see Elend, he's fighting, he's able to dodge some koloss attacks, get someone to attack each other, kill some of them. And Vin has said that Elend is a much more powerful Allomancer, likely because he got his power straight from the bead. But he thinks about how she is still much more skilled than him with pushing and pulling metals. And then Elend's army begins to lose steam against the koloss. Fatrin says that Elend has led them all to their deaths. But then Elend points to a speck in the sky that is growing larger and says that the first of his armies that he has promised has arrived.
That line with Fatra made me so sad. It was such a realistic way to react to what was happening to them.
That he just came to ruin them?
Well, he's like, why? Why would you do this? Like, he has no understanding of what the plan is,
Yeah.
And all his men are dead. He, out of desperation, followed this man, And now he's about to die with everyone he knows, and he's like, why?
It's sort of like at the beginning of the Final Empire, how when Kelsier showed up and they're just like, "You're just going to cause trouble. Why are you here? Let us continue our lives."
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a pretty reasonable reaction to somebody coming in out of nowhere and saying all these grandiose, crazy things, when you have no hope, basically. I forgot to say in the previous one, it was Fatram's brother, the truffle guy, right?
Truffle.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And I think it was him, right? They said, and he used to be a jokester. He used to be like the lighthearted laughing guy, and he was just the most dour, downbeat, hopeless guy we've seen ever. It was very sad.
Yeah.
All right. So then, since Elend said that his first army is arriving, now we jump over to Vin's point of view. And Vin lands in the middle of the koloss army with horseshoes, and she begins to use the horseshoes to kill all the koloss around her. She uses her great skill and slaughters the koloss without much effort, and she is no longer insecure about her role. She once let Elend die, so any moment with him is unexpected. She knows that she is his knife, the final Empire's knife. And then Vin kills a bunch of them. Then she finds the largest koloss she had ever seen. Gotta be 13 feet tall. And she fights him, and then she winds up killing him. And her attacks on the koloss, combined with Elend's small army of humans being able to attack and hold their own against the koloss, is putting some fear into the koloss. And this fear allows Vin to break through and begin to take control of them. And what she starts doing is she takes control of a koloss and have it start attacking other koloss until those koloss fight and kill that one. And then she takes control of a couple more koloss, have them start fighting until they die. So she just keeps doing this, so it's bringing chaos in the army. And Vin looks over at Elend and sees that he is also doing the same, taking over koloss himself. So the deaths of all these koloss, along with them starting to take control of other koloss, brings the one controlling them out into battle. And so then a Steel Inquisitor flies down onto the battlefield. Vin begins to fight it, and she flashes back to taking an axe to the side and seeing Kelsier die, but she forces this out of her mind. And so the two of them fight throughout the army of koloss. Pretty cool battle. And during the battle,
I like that description.
And
Can't go through it all, but you do want to convey it was cool.
yeah, it's hard to convey. It's hard to convey a battle in a podcast, unless if I just read the chapter aloud.
It's efficient.
No, I liked pretty cool battle. I totally believe.
Yeah, it's good.
epic fight sequence here.
Yeah.
And during this battle, Vin begins to burn Electrum, which is a new metal that we hear about now. And what it does is it gives off shadows of her own possible movements. So pretty much the opposite of Atium, where it shows what your opponent will do. But having these other shadows come out, this would throw off the Steel Inquisitor's Atium if it is burning any. So Vin fights the Steel Inquisitor. She gets close to it and she winds up ripping off his cloak. That way she can go for its linchpin. However, the Inquisitor is wearing a leather armor on its back similar to a turtle shell. So now the only way to kill it is to take off its head.
Hacks. I call hacks.
Yeah, that's cheating.
Yeah, this did feel to me like a boss fight showing up the mini boss showing up in the middle of like a Dynasty Warriors game or something.
Or the bosses that you fight, it's like, all right, exploit the weakness. Then you fight one and it doesn't have the weakness. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
So Vin's fighting the Steel Inquisitor, and then Elend comes over and he joins in the battle against the Steel Inquisitor. While Vin is fighting, you have like one scene where Elend and the Inquisitor, they both push on a coin, and Steel Inquisitor expects it just to neutralize each other. But since Elend's power is just so much higher, it's able to be much stronger than the Inquisitor and push it down against the ground. And at one point, the Inquisitor is able to grab Vin's arm, and when she tries to stab it, it throws her off to the side. And the Inquisitor runs at Elend much faster than even if it used pewter with duralumin. And it pulls out a spike similar to its own spikes, and he tries to stab Elend with it. But what Vin does is she takes control of a koloss right next to Inquisitor and has it slam its giant sword right into the Inquisitor's head, which completely crushes the skull and kills it. Now that the Inquisitor is dead, Elend sends out a massive soothing and takes control of the entire koloss army. And that's the end of that chapter.
I'm so glad they can still control them. When the book started, I thought, and from the covers too, I thought it was going to be, can't control them anymore. And I'm like, but that was such a big, badass part of the previous one. So I'm glad they're still able to. There's just a caveat to it.
I love so much of this chapter. Like, I've got a headcanon where from the time in Well of Ascension when Vin first does duralumin and steel to go save Breeze, like she makes a sonic boom. So I like to imagine at this point, like he hears like the boom, and that's what draws his attention upward. And he's like, "There's my army."
Well, that sounds like it would be a badass moment in a movie. I mean,
Yeah, I imagine visuals like that too for parts that are described. For the soothing and stuff like that, I want it like a visual effect that you can see.
Another thing I like about this is even in this thing, you can see a clear difference between Elend's fighting style and Vin's fighting style. Because Elend's like moving, dodging, using a lot more like soothing on people and everything. When Vin comes in, she's just pretty much like destruction all around her.
Oh, she comes down with horseshoes like orbiting around her. And very much like Kelsier was like when he died, and she's just using them to her advantage, like catching Koloss's arms with them and pulling them aside. Vin is a Yikes, I would not want to fight against this 5'0" girl.
Does anyone feel sorry for the koloss in these sequences?
No.
Poor little guys. They have no choice. If it were up to them, they'd just be killing people of their own free will instead.
I feel sad for them because I feel like they would never ask to be born to like this. That's all.
You could say that about any evil monster, though.
Yeah, I do. I always feel sorry for them because I'm like,
You
you
always feel.
didn't ask for this, you poor evil thing. The only thing to do is put them out of their misery, which
What,
is just
even like a
sad.
demon or something?
Like Zane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Zane.
Hey, he could have been saved.
I
He was hearing
don't know.
voices.
Yeah, just a little crazy. But yeah, the Cola devils, Justin, aren't born. They're just they're a different thing. Colas are
Oh, okay.
were made and stuff, So.
Justin, not all devils are bad. You've read Black Clover.
I'm talking about like theological demons and stuff.
Not fictional story ones.
Well, not ones that have different rules than they traditionally have. That's how I would say it.
Well,
But
they're made to just be pure evil, so that's different.
And
unless you're
koloss are
watching.
made to be. Yeah, what?
Colas were made for someone's destructive purpose, like that.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Yep, and I also like the Steel Inquisitor coming in and having the fight with it. And even though, it does take them one chapter to kill him, he still is a pretty big threat.
Mm-hmm.
Mini boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
Steel Inquisitors were like the biggest threat in book 1, pretty much not seen in book 2, and now this one, they fight and kill it, but it did take 2 Mistborn along with a bunch of koloss to be able to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that's not something where Steel Inquisitor comes in and Vince is like, oh, that's easy. 3 seconds kills it.
So this is only like the third Steel Inquisitor we see die on screen. The first was by Kelsier, the second one was by Marsh pulling out the linchpin spike, and this.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it
We're
was going
trying
to be
to get
like.
a fourth with Marsh trying to kill himself.
Yeah, Marsh tried.
Well, Marsh did kill a bunch of them. We just didn't see him kill them.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah,
Yeah.
when he found out how to kill him, he was just
we
like
saw all
taking out
this.
spikes.
Yep.
Oh,
I
thought
am
he
glad
just killed
that
them all.
I am glad that Vin hasn't just become Neo, where she can just solo them easily, like you're saying. It is a lot more exciting if she is still a little bit grounded, even though she's so ridiculously powerful.
I love that even though Elend is technically the stronger Mistborn, she's got so much more skill behind her abilities.
Well, she seems to be a natural killer. Like, she's so good at it,
Yeah.
It's like Punisher, she's just good at killing. And I'm glad that they found a heroic purpose to wield that towards, and that she's accepted her role as the knife. I think that's really fun and interesting. Because some
Yeah,
people
she.
just got it.
And I think a big thing for Vin is kind of goes back to that first book, because where she got specialized training and everything. She had her time with Ham, her time with Breeze, her time with Spook, Marsh, Kelsier, all that just honed her skills perfectly for everything.
Yeah, but even then,
Well,
Kelsier, everyone was saying she was very natural to learning it too.
She's had this originality to how she problem solves that I think gives her that edge. She's always getting really creative with her powers.
The other thing is, a lot of people are going to hesitate when they've got to like break a guy's head in half or like, chop a dude in
Yeah,
half and
she
all this
has
crazy stuff. You got to have a certain thing in you to be able to do that well.
she has that survival skill
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
being a small girl, having to survive on the streets.
The first time I really saw that was when she brutally killed Shan in the first book. I was quite surprised by that.
Well, I guess you
Yeah.
could also say the same thing with Elend too, because we saw his, essentially, we saw his reaction to a men's head being exploded. We saw his reaction after he killed Jastes. Compare that to now, where he's much more of a soldier.
Well, yeah, once you get desensitized to it, it's one thing, but some people can do it right off the bat, And I always
Yeah.
really enjoy those kind of characters, so I find it very interesting. I never would have guessed Vin was going to be one of those types. She seems so nice.
And are we just going to move straight past the fact they have another new elementic metal?
Yeah, I like how they introduced that so like quick and nonchalantly. Like, oh yeah, we've just discovered that in the meantime.
Yeah. But for me, I didn't even look back at it twice because I was like, oh yeah, Electrum, like from D&D. I'm so used to it. Like,
Oh, from hearing the word in a fantasy
yeah.
setting.
But yeah, then I was like, wait a minute. That's a very big deal.
Yeah, and it is something where I had asked you before, because we knew about gold, we knew about ATM, we knew about the 11th metal or mal ATM, so I'd asked you what the alloy of gold would do. So here it is. It's pretty much the opposite of ATM. Yeah, Electrum in our D&D group, we all hate Electrum. Whenever we're playing, and it's like, all right, you find some Electrum. None of us like it because it feels like such a useless currency in that game.
Remember the good old days of 10 medals? Ah, simpler times.
Yeah.
Joe, can you put up a chart of all the metals that we know right now?
Not right
Yeah.
now.
No, I know
Well,
not
yeah.
right now, but for me, for looking at later.
Oh, to keep track of them.
Yeah.
You've got the basic 10. You've got Malatium, which was the 11th metal, Aluminum, Duralumin, and now Electrum.
It's so funny in this other world to have them be like, aluminum. There's a totally different context and value in this world.
And before electrostasis, like aluminum was really difficult to get.
Mm-hmm. That's what makes it interesting, how different their world is from our modern world.
Yeah.
Anything else in this chapter anybody want to go over?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, so we will go on to Chapter 4. Epigraph. This is actually what happened to Rashik, I believe. He pushed too hard. He tried to burn away the mist by moving the planet closer to the sun, but he moved it too far, making the world far too hot for the people who inhabited it. The ash mounts were his solution to this. He had learned that shoving a planet around would require too much precision, so instead he caused the mountains to erupt, spewing ash and smoke into the air. The thicker atmosphere made the world cooler and turned the sun red.
God damn it,
was
Rashik.
crazy. Yeah. That was crazy to read. One, I thought we were reading Rashik's journal, so that already took me off guard. Now I know we're likely reading Vin's journal. And this whole, like, moving the planet, like, when they said they could do it, in the previous one, it was interesting. When they said they did do it, I was like, holy shit. That's insane. That's a lot of fucking power.
I was so mad at him. I was like, what are you doing? It like
Well, assumedly he did it to help fix what was wrong with the world, right? Or
oh, I know, but like I think it's really funny to see like a mistake on this level like that. It's just funny.
and then trying to fix it. That's what's so.
That's what I
Oh,
mean.
that's
Yeah.
later. But yeah, just to mess it up, it's so interesting. I see. My understanding of this world was, when you have a hard magic system, quotes like this, it's really interesting when you see that the fantastical elements have these very rational explanations that are also these crazy nonsensical explanations, like moving the planet, changing stuff. It's just crazy to me. I didn't expect something like this, but I'm very, very pleasantly interested in it.
Yeah, I like mixing these like kind of sciencey things to it, like
Mm-hmm.
Well, it also explains like why in Rashek and Elendi's time the world had like blue skies and flowers and everything, and how after Rashek, killed him, things went kind of bad.
Yeah, see, I thought it would be some kind of like magical evil aura came over the world, like,
Not just
this evil magic that's not explained. To have like these tangible explanations, I did not expect it at all.
Planet was moved.
Yeah, planet was moved. Wouldn't have guessed that. Jeez.
Planet was moved, and then he made ash go into the sky to block out the sun and cool the planet.
That is the craziest part. I could not believe that.
Granted, that's what turned the sun red, so I guess our theory of this being Krypton is dead.
I don't remember that theory. I have no part in that one.
What do you mean?
Me.
That sounds just like you. Oh, Joe.
No, it does not.
I think it's funny that he did that, and our characters have just been living in that shit this whole time, not knowing what it was. They're just like, why does it suck here? I don't know. Like,
I also think it's fascinating. I don't know if they overtly say, I don't remember, but it sounds like, this power probably builds from time to time. The idea that maybe you could try again when the next build-up came, I think would be very interesting. I don't know yet. They haven't gotten into it too much. But it makes me wonder what things look like on the Lord Ruler's scope, Because not only is he long-lived and seen all this time, he sees things from a godlike scope we don't even know,
All right. So we'll go into the chapter, and we're with Sazed. Sazed is the chief ambassador for the new empire, and he's currently in Lical City to get them to sign a treaty swearing fealty to Elend. So pretty much this is like where Jastes used to be from, so the person in charge is Jastes' uncle. And Sazed pulls out, he's going over a piece of paper with the tenets of the Kazi people on it. And he's reading in his mind about the religion, but he finds it contradictory and writes on the paper that it is obviously untrue. And Sazed has written down all the religions that he knew from his metal mines, and he has been going over all of them to try to find if any of them could be the true religion. He is searching for what could have happened to Tyndwyl after she died. Breeze is also there.
Sazed. He's so sad.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. He's lost his faith, and yet he's been religious for so long, now he's wondering maybe, and it is really interesting and sad to see that when he has so little hope about it at the same time.
I mean, he went from, I believe in all religions. Don't those contradict each other? Yes, quite a few of them do, to,
yeah.
I don't believe any of them, to, the only one left is the terrorist religion that I kind of recovered from this wall, to finding out that was completely changed just to manipulate that.
Poor guy. Contradictions, obviously untrue. I think is so sad.
And with this, the way he's reading it and just he's trying to find what it's less that, to me, it comes off as less as him trying to find the true religion, to him purposely looking for ways to say religions are not true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's the best way to prove it's true. That's how skeptics do it, because if you are unable to prove that it's not true, then you're forced to believe it, which also completely goes against the concept of religion too. So it's really, really interesting to watch him going down this arc.
All right, so Breeze is also there with Sazed, and he asks Sazed what he's reading. But Sazed puts away the piece of paper, and he says he doesn't want to talk about it. And Sazed, he is not fond of the title as Chief Ambassador. The terrorist people had sworn never to call another person master again. And now the terrorists are a broken people. Their entire ruling class had been killed by the Steel Inquisitors. And Sazed knows that he cannot rule them. No man without faith can rule them. He must find faith first.
I'm surprised he's still trying to find it after the last book. It sounded like he was just going to straight up give up.
He wants to believe. He spent all his life doing it, and he's got all the information quite literally on his fingertips at times, depending upon if they're rings or not. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go through them one by one. And instead of searching for reasons to believe, he's searching for reasons not to believe.
It seems like a destructive part after a bad breakup, and you're just looking at presents and pictures that you remember. You're like, this is stupid. This is I should have known this was a bad time, and you just rip everything out. It's a destructive time, but you kind of do it to heal, or try to heal.
Yeah, I think the line was in Elantris where it's saying the strongest believers or something are the ones that would be the biggest haters later. Something like that.
Yeah.
So
wasn't it about? Yeah, I think Hrathen thought it about Delof or something.
Or people who, because Delof had said that the Elantrians, they fooled people into believing they were gods. So people who really believe, people who really believed in the Elantrians now just hate everything about it. So I do feel like that kind of goes in here. Sazed believes in the religion so much that when he turns on it hard.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, his situation is very different. Everything that he's ever learned or written down or thought about is potentially just completely untrue bullshit. I don't think a lot of people go through this specific situation, but Sazed.
Right. And so Breeze, he tries to play off them coming here and strong-arming the Lical ruler. But Sazed calls him out and says that he knows that Breeze is a good man. And Breeze and Sazed, they debate about coming here. And Breeze says that Sazed had argued Breeze's point 2 days ago against the Licals. But Sazed tells him that he has felt contradictory as of late. And then Breeze asks if it still hurts. After Sazed says yes, Breeze says that it will heal eventually. Breeze tries to get tries to cheer up Sazed and asks him to try to convert him to a religion since Sazed hasn't done that in months. But Sazed responds that he no longer wears his metal mines. The Terrace people had spent so long searching for the Terrace religion but never found it. There has also not been another keeper found in months. So Sazed believes that he is the last ferochemist, and as a eunuch, he will be the last one. Using his metal mines just doesn't seem to matter to him anymore.
Just say poor Sazed, Jesus. He's like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve this. It's sad. I really wanted him and Tyndall to live happily ever after.
Nope.
Just nope.
Nope.
Tough shit.
And then Breeze tries to push Sazed more, but Sazed says he doesn't want to discuss the religions. If there was a god, then why would he allow the Lord Ruler to kill so many, or let the world get the way it is now? Sazed will never again teach religion that cannot answer his questions. And then Breeze says that Sazed was always the best of them, but Breeze doesn't believe what Sazed says.
He's not meant to be an atheist. He'll come around eventually.
I wonder. I feel like he will, but I'd be curious to see with that. I'm curious if it would be that he would come around because he would see the value faith has for people and for himself, or if he would come around because of some, evidence
Actual?
that yeah, like souls are true and stuff like that. I'm really curious to see how this goes.
Yeah, like if you get actual, like real evidence of God and like heaven or an afterlife thing to prove that religion is right, or go back to kind of having the more faith-based one.
The other thing I always hate the argument of why would God let all this bad stuff happen, because you're making the assumption that God is good in some way, when the evidence we have so far is that God might be an asshole, if ruin is God.
I'm gonna say I think it's more so. Okay, I'm not even gonna argue that because that is more of a Catholic trigger in my mind that I'm just.
Well, yeah, when you go to the to Christian religion, humanity has free will, so of course bad things are going to happen. That's how I interpret that, at least, the answer to that question. But in this world, I mean, Ruin told Zane he was God, right, the whole time.
Was that really?
I guess that's a good question. I'm making an assumption. I guess I wouldn't know.
And
if that's true, and there's two asshole God entities out there, that would be horrifying.
We were saying that it was like in Lost, how it would be. It's just two forces,
That's what you were saying, yes.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Well, the only entity we've heard be referred to as God told Zane to kill everybody. That's what we know about it so far.
And then Breeze says that he'd never thank Sazed for helping pull him out of himself a year ago. If it wasn't for Sazed, then he doesn't know if he ever would have gotten over what happened. And Sazed nods, but in his mind, he thinks bitterly that the woman that Breeze loves is still alive. If Tyndall was alive, then Sazed could probably have recovered as well. And then Kingly Cal walks out of his room, and he gives them a piece of paper with the treaty signed. And that's the end of the chapter.
And like with the littlest signature ever, I thought was funny.
Yeah, like I imagine a cute scribbly font.
It's like, I
know the book doesn't have like any room for it, but I am kind of upset we kind of just glossed over all of Breeze's like PTSD and recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I would have been curious to see this Sazed bringing him out of there, because he was messed up when we last saw him.
Yeah, they were both messed up. I kind of really wanted to see that, because Breeze has always been cool and confident and okay and stuff like that, like chill. But he was not chill, so I can't believe we didn't see any of it where he was not cool and kind of freaking out and stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like when I first read the book, after when I got done with Well of Ascension, I thought that was the end of Breeze for the story. I thought he was now just a broken person. I did not think he was going to be in the next book. Or at the very least, I would have liked to shown him a little bit in like the epilogue of the last book, just seemed kind of broken, because we never see him after the battle. We don't see him after everything's done. Or even having a scene of like showing like all Rianne finding Breeze broken or something like that.
Yes, I wanted that part. It's like, Breezy, are you all right? No.
I don't think that's how she'd approach it with her ability to read people.
See, and I would have liked to see that too.
Yeah.
Like, get up, be a man, or whatever, how she would be.
At the same time, I am glad I don't have to do like 20 chapters of Elend training and stuff like that. So I'll take that
Oh
over,
God, I didn't want to see that. Like, geez, being a Mistborn sure is hard, Vin. Like,
Oh
like,
god.
don't-
I hate the idea of watching Vin learn how to be a Mistborn and then following a totally different character do the same exact journey. So I'm very
God,
glad
I
that they
have
were
some.
wise enough not to do that.
Yeah.
One thing I do find, like and find interesting in the book is, throughout, the first book and especially in the second book, you have like the two of the primary characters, Vin and Elend, trying to figure out their place in the world. And then essentially, once they figure out their place in the world and what they need to do, that's when Sazed loses his, and now he's trying to figure out his place.
Poor guy.
Drama. Yeah, he's stable. He was their stabilizer for the whole time. So I wonder if they'll even notice and be there for him now that he's struggling. Like, they seem really preoccupied with all this though. So I'm sad that he's all alone. All he has for company is Breeze and stuff. Like, I don't know. Not the best
Breeze
friend
does
you could
do
have.
his absolute best work to be bad company.
Yeah.
He tries to open up with Sazed and try to help him out in this chapter.
Well, when
That
things
part
get
was so
serious,
sad.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on, for old time's sake, why don't you tell me your religion? I was like, Breeze, not now, please. Like, uh,
Well, he doesn't know that
yeah.
Sazed's not doing stuff because Sazed won't let them know what he's reading.
Yeah, you gotta let him in, but you know, he's the kind of friend that you kind of keep for parties, but you don't really get deep with them.
Anything else from the Sazed Breeze chapter?
I am really sad to like see the reminiscences of our friends. Like, now it's just Sazed and Breeze. Like,
We still
it
got
used to be a
Ham.
whole. Yeah, but he's probably with his family or something. He's probably not like probably quit. We don't know that. But they're the
Quit?
only ones
No
like
way.
in.
He's just gonna be back in the city somewhere.
I'm just so curious to get to like see how the gang is. Like, it used to be a whole gang, like Ocean's 11, like the team and stuff. Now
Mm-hmm.
they're all broken up. We just have a couple people left. It's always the saddest part in things to me when it's just a couple of our people like
Yeah,
still
well,
trying to do it.
yeah, from the original crew, literally half of them are dead.
Hmm. It's just not the same without Dox.
Literally the most useless one.
He was the
Dachshund is
glue
the
that kept it
character I'm
together.
most likely to forget Sheta of the crew.
Okay, for me, I was just always thankful he was working hard behind the scenes to keep things
Yeah.
going. Now that job is Sazed's job, or who's in charge of that? See,
Well,
he was in charge of their money, in charge of the plans.
I'm sure
You
it's
know,
just some other money guys in charge of that stuff.
see, that's not as fun. That's
Well,
why
It could
I
be.
don't trust.
It could be Penrod.
Yeah, that'd be worse.
By useless, I mean in terms of power, I love Doxy. He's like my third
Mhm.
favorite.
Oh, Doxson, I'm so sad.
Like first time I went through, the one I always forgot about was Clubs, especially
yeah,
in the
Name.
first book.
too, yeah.
He was there, but he was never really doing anything. He was always just mentioned in passing.
He was the wisdom of the group. I liked it. He made them seem more grown up and serious.
He brought Spook.
Yeah. Also, he's Spook's grandpa.
Uncle.
Where did
I
Grandpa come from?
I always thought that was the relationship. Like, oh, Gramps, you're such a kook.
Besides, all the time he called him Uncle.
He called him old man. Okay.
Yep. We'll go on to chapter 5, and this time I'm going to hand the reins over to Reader Warrior because he's going to do the description of the chapter. Did you have the epigraph, or did you want me to read it?
Oh, I got it.
All right, cool.
He's prepared, man. He knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. More prepared than you, Joe.
And this is when I get kicked from the call. Each time Rashek tried to fix things, he made them worse. He had to change the world's plants to make them able to survive in the harsh new environment. That change left the plants less nutritious to mankind. Indeed, the falling ash would make men sick, causing them to cough like those who spent too long mining beneath the earth. And so Rashek changed mankind itself as well, altering them so they could survive.
Oh my god. That is huge. Jeez.
Yep. I like this little like children's story type thing. Or if it reads like it would in a script, like in a Bible and stuff, like and so Rashik changed mankind. And so, like
It's
Just
horrifying. What did he change us from, too? I'm so curious. And the fact that, everything being the way it is because of trying to fix the fuck-ups he already did is just so bizarre and interesting to me. I cannot believe... I'm still processing that revelation.
yeah, that was huge.
Elend and Vin do a quick field autopsy of the Inquisitor, how it was able to move so fast. Vin finds an extra pewter spike in its chest, and Elend wonders how the spikes are tied to their powers. They talk about how Ruin and the Deepness are growing stronger. Vin takes a koloss and has it carry the Inquisitor's body. They meet up with Fatrin and give him a brief explanation on the beast before heading into the city.
Yeah, I like
The
this
extra-
part.
Oh yeah, Joe,
one-
you're one of us now.
Yeah. I just like it at the end where, Vin talks about, all right, and we'll have to cut open its stomach to see if there's any A-team inside we can take.
Yeah.
This makes me think of Saw with Amanda having to try to find the key.
It made me think of Jack Black's character when he tried to eat the drugs from the bat's stomach in Tropic Thunder.
What the hell? I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued by this new spike. I really like that part.
The three approach the Ministry building and find the allomantic door in the cellar, and together they pull it down, capital P. They find basic supplies and Elend orders Fatrin to guard it. He plans to give it to them, but has to ration it. Vin comments how forceful Elend is now, and he says he's tired of the compromises, but missed the idealist he used to be. Vin misses that person too, but she thinks this new Elend is more necessary for their current way of life. Elend compliments the Lord Ruler's planning and discusses hope, or lack thereof. Vin says this is all pointless and mocks the survivor. Elend says he has hope they'll make it, and that is enough for him.
I'm sorry, I guess I'm stupid. Have they been capitalizing pull this entire time?
Yes.
I never, ever noticed. Oh my god, I'm dumb. I just never read it that way.
What?
Like whenever they use the pulling power for it to be capitalized.
Oh.
Again, you do the audio so
Yeah.
you wouldn't catch that. But I read it, so
Okay.
I really should have by this point.
Yeah.
Pushing and pulling are always capitalized.
Makes perfect
Same
sense.
thing with soothe.
Yeah, no, never noticed any of that. I guess it just reads so naturally I wouldn't think of it because I know the context it's being used in.
There's a random chapter in Well of Ascension, the Alrian point of view, where she uses a word to describe her rioting, and it's capitalized there as well.
Hmm.
Can't remember.
Is it sex appeal?
See, this is how our podcast goes, where suddenly somebody brings something up, now everybody just starts pulling out the books.
Oh my god, you just answered everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to find it. Okay.
You could have just made it up and I would not be able to doubt you because I wouldn't even know what page to look on.
Well, my guess, if it's her talking about rioting, it's got to be when she's showing up with all those bandits and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is it. I just don't know where that is in the book.
She only has 2 or 3 point of view segments in that book.
Would be
Chapter
later.
50, I think.
Thanks.
Second to scroll back to my notes of that chapter. For some reason, I don't have them. Okay.
You're just making stuff up. None of this happened.
Would I lie?
I don't know. I don't know you well enough to say if you would or not.
Fun. Okay. I'll keep going though. I can look at it later. They walk in deeper into the cache and find a message from the Lord Ruler inscribed in steel. For anything not set in metal cannot be trusted. It talks about Malatium, the 11th metal, similarly to how previous ones talked about Electrium and aluminum. There was also a map pointing to Fadric City, Set City, and they hope to find the ATM cache there, because they have not been able to find it yet. Vin says it's important, like Allomancy itself. Elend worries about how difficult taking Phaedrix will be, and he heads back upstairs, leaving Vin to read the few words at the bottom of the thing. Only your thoughts are safe.
And following the Lord Ruler around feels like finding places in a video game where you get little notes and stuff from the previous person.
Oh man, you're right.
I
You
also
get
like
some
how
supplies and you get some
Mhm.
notes.
the book, it's not like stating it directly because you're starting in the middle of the journey, but you can follow it if you look at the other stuff. Because
Mm.
we know from the little map they found at the end of Well of Ascension that, next they went to Statland City, and then in this chapter she mentions that they had been to Urto, so that means after Statland City they went to Urto, and now here, and then there's one more in Fadrix, so you can actually know exactly how many cities they went to and when.
Mm.
Again, another
Found it.
thing I was glad I didn't have to see, and they could just tell me.
Orianne says she made sure to tug strongly on Set's sense of devotion. Capital T on tug.
Hug. Nice. Okay.
Knew I wasn't. So they get to the cache, find out where next to go on their quest, and ATM is still missing. So hopefully it's there.
The ATM we've been talking about for 2 whole books.
I don't know. I think there's definitely some bigger picture deal with this atrium. I don't think it's just, or ATM. I don't think it's just sitting there at this point. Because especially now that they have this new metal that can kind of block ATM, like, do we really need it as much anymore as we used to, like story-wise? In the previous book, it was like dire. Like, if they didn't get it, they were fucked.
Well,
So I
like they were gonna
still
face.
kind of... What's that?
Go ahead.
Somebody.
Well, I was gonna say that the ATM, yeah, you can block it if you're facing another Mistborn, but it will also help you greatly when you're going into a battle with, say, just like normal koloss and stuff, because you'll see where all like the swords are coming from.
Well, yeah, it'll be very useful. I would want it, but I mean, like narratively, it's not as dire as it was before. So I'm wondering if it's, kind of leading to some other, I don't know, whatever the Lord Ruler was using it for. To again, I
Yeah.
still assume something with the entity that was freed, or something greater than it. I wouldn't know.
Well,
Yeah, that's weird. It's just funny that the first book they wanted it as like the prize, like a reward or treasure, and then second book they wanted it to start their new kingdom and to hold it basically. Now I feel like they're just solving a mystery about where the heck it is.
That's true. It has had a somewhat different purpose every book.
Mhm.
And like Vin, who like discovered Journalum kept that secret only to herself, and TenSoon, who figured it out. So like I imagine since she and Elend are the only Mistborn in their army, it seems that only they know about Electrum.
Yeah, I'm glad they
Yeah.
kept that to themselves. I was worried they were going to start telling everybody.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because I would keep that info for sure. If I was, that, in charge of the entire kingdom's livelihood and stuff.
Mhm.
Yep, and now Vin, now she has to be able to plan everything out, but she cannot tell anybody, not even Ellen, because she can't let any words come out, because otherwise
Yeah.
Ruin will know.
It's
Gosh.
fascinating that they're not redeeming the Lord Ruler, I would say, in any way, but they are giving you a different idea of him that I find really interesting.
I
Like,
really wanted to know more about him too, so I'm glad we are
Mhm.
getting to know more about him.
What she says about how much does he have locked up, did he have locked up in his head because he refused to write it down? Like, he's very, very paranoid for good reason.
Aw, that must have been so lonely.
Oh, yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
I'm not
to
saying
carry
that he's redeemed. I'm saying it's really interesting to see this other side of him. Again, they could, at the end, be like, see, he needed to kill this many people a year or else the world would be destroyed. They could do that. It's possible. So we'll
Mhm.
see.
I'm
Just
just gonna
This
be
is-
like,
quiet.
yep, that's true. That's true.
I like that Ellen and Vin are in this together. Maybe they'll learn how to speak like couples do with just a look, so they can,
Like Black
you
Bolt
know,
and Medusa.
like like yep.
They have a
Then
special
they wouldn't
sign
have.
language.
Yeah,
Well,
can you
I'm
sign?
sure that thing could
Mhm.
hear a sign language too.
Can you whisper?
Whisper. I'm not even gonna respond to that one.
It's a nigh omnipotent evil entity. You think whispering is gonna? I think you have better luck creating a brand new sign language that it probably doesn't know.
The problem was we were just talking too loud and writing too big.
I don't know the rules.
Yes, you do. Anything not written in metal is unsafe. That's the rules.
Well, now we know you can't talk either, and you can't,
Which is a horrifying revelation.
yeah. You're just like forced to be quiet. It's like a quiet place.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope you guys bring me back for like the last episode so I can just answer all the questions.
Oh, yes. Let's do it. I can't wait to get to that point. All these mysteries are driving me nuts.
I quite like mysteries, so I'm good. You cannot once they're answered, they can never be unanswered. So I always appreciate this time in a story.
Smell the roses. I want to get to the end.
It's the journey, not the destination, Sheta.
Yeah, journey before destination.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, Sheta.
What?
Yeah,
Also,
not joking,
I'm in-
gang up on you too.
I agree with
Also
you,
what?
though. You will want to be back at this point. You will want to be confused about what ruin is and all this stuff. Because
cool, man.
once you start
It's
to
fun.
learn, that's when the Cosmere opens up.
Yeah. And now, like, if I was reading this on my own, I would just be reading nonstop to get through. But because I'm doing this podcast, I have to go at a snail's pace, and that's what's driving me nuts. Because
Well, if I was
would just
reading
be...
on my own, I'd be just as interested, and I would take a break for about half a year and probably never find out what happened. So this podcast is good for me.
Most interesting will be once you finish this book on your own time, whenever you want to, you can reread the trilogy and notice so much more.
True.
As I've said, he had all 3 books written before the first one was published, so it flows really well into each other.
Mm.
Another part about this chapter that I liked, I thought was also interesting, was Elend thinking about that bead of metal that gave him all his powers.
Mm-hmm.
And wondering where it was, why it was at the well, and why there was only one.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Oh,
do
really?
also learn.
There was just one?
Yeah, they
Yep,
said
that's-
that. I was surprised by that. I thought we'd start in Ham and Breeze and everyone would
Yeah.
get Mistborn. I was like, oh god, I don't know if I want that.
God, okay. That's big.
No, because
We
when
really
they went
want
there,
Breeze to be able to soothe and Riot. Do we want Spook to have anything more than Tin?
Goodness,
Yeah.
no. That's why I didn't want to see any of that.
It'd be like the end of Shazam when everyone gets powers.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and because when they showed up, they had all like that broken pottery stuff, and then just
Mhm.
one disc with the metal in it.
Yeah, but I thought they'd find another one, so I was surprised.
Was the disc a broken piece of pottery, or was it like a special disc?
No, it was like a clay pottery disc with the bead in the middle, and then that
Okay.
when Elend got stabbed by the mist, dropped it, it broke. So then it was Vin just picked up that piece of metal.
Let's see. Oh, what the heck is that? I don't like that. What is that?
Anything else from this chapter?
Hey,
Anybody
you're not
wants
the
to
one
go
who
over?
asks that.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
You're not in charge here.
I'm taking over now. Move out of the way.
He's gone mad with power.
This is now subsidiary of Cosmere Connections.
Oh no, we've been taken
Oh my
over.
gosh. Hostile takeover.
He likes Ellen too much. He's channeling him.
Sign this contract. Surrender your city to me.
Oh, God, no.
Emperor of Adventure.
Just more what Sheta's saying. As I love the mysteries, I'm very curious, and it's very fun to have so much ominous, spooky, insane stuff being revealed so quickly in this book compared to how slowly it's been revealed in previous books. And then it makes me think, Jesus, whatever they've got saved for the end's got to be fucking crazy if they're starting out like this.
All right. I guess we'll move on to the predictions and theories and stuff segment. Reader, do you have any questions you want to ask either of them to answer?
What do you think the Mist Spirit is?
I still think it's the souls of the dead. I still think it's something like that. Something that ties into Sazed's questions about religion and afterlife stuff. Probably not that simple, but something related to that. That's been my theory for a long time.
Yeah, I did have the theory that the spirit was Kelsier, but I feel like it's Don't
Stop!
laugh
You're
at
making me
me.
sad.
Don't
You're
laugh
making
at
me
me.
so sad every time you get hopeful.
I know. But yes, if it was trying to help them, it'd be some version of like a heaven or a more good force for people. And then yeah. So whatever the opposite of the bad entity is. So what's the opposite of ruin? Maybe creation?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would say creation. Unlike the opposite of rocks or whatever you said before. A long
What?
time ago.
What what's the opposite of metal?
I
What's
don't
what I
remember the
said? I got
yeah, I think that was it. You're like, is it
rock.
rocks?
Shut up.
So you think it's the push to ruin's pull?
Yes. Ooh, bringing in the elemency terms. Yes.
So some force that's working against whatever this evil entity is working, a presumably evil entity is working against.
Presumably. I think we could assumably say that.
Its name is Ruin.
Don't blame him for what his parents called him.
Yeah, parents.
Yeah.
I'm sure parents come into play in this situation.
We shall name him Ruin.
It
Aw.
meant something different before the world was created.
Yeah,
Or
Ruin.
recreated.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Questions, because I think like you're gonna ask some of the ones I would think to ask. So I'll wait until afterward.
All right. I'll ask you to. How do you think that TenSoon's trial thing's gonna be?
I think he will be, for some reason I imagine they're gonna be like, all right, you get a chance to make up for this by going out and killing whoever you told and stuff. Then you can come back and we'll accept you. So they're gonna give him a body and he'll be set free to go and kill Vin.
I don't know. I think because he said he's not doing it to save himself, so I think he has some piece of information he's inferred from the situation that from all the stuff that's happened that will tie into the greater threat that's out there for all his people. I feel like it's got to be something like that. I don't know, but something like that that ties him into the plot, I'd assume, and all of them, because I feel like these different races are going to have to come together against this threat because it's an enemy. I assume it's an enemy to all of them.
Oh yeah. I don't think TenSoon will kill Vin. I think he's gonna be like, as soon as he gets out, like, see ya, suckers, and then he's gonna go work with Vin.
I don't think that sounds in character. He seems very, very strict about his people's way.
Also, isn't one
Yeah.
of the rules of the Khandra like to not kill people?
That is very true.
But you can do a loophole around it, right?
Loopholes are great.
Well, that is kind of what he did to Zane. Got him to
Exactly.
take control of his body to attack Zane, and that allowed her to get saved and kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do hope he escapes and joins everybody. I really want him and Vin to be reunited.
All right, my next question will be, where are other people following? Where do you think like Ham and Ulrian and Spook are?
Okay.
And I guess Set too. We'll throw him in there.
That.
Well, we're going to say
this,
Set because they're going to go to his town, right? I assume they'll grab him.
This is his town, though. Fadric City is his town, I thought.
Huh? No, I thought they were headed to his place. Am I wrong?
They're heading
Yeah,
to Phaedrus City. That's the next place on the map.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're not there
Okay.
yet. So I assume they'll grab him to go there.
Yep, and Orianne will be there too, and she'll be pregos.
What? What the hell?
It's been a year. She was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go back to my town and grab some of my stuff." That's what she'll say. And then she gets to show Breeze around.
I wish I
Oh,
could just
Breeze
tell
is
you
coming
guys
too.
this.
Oh, goodness.
Well, we do know from the last book, it was mentioned that after Set left, that like an obligator named Yeoman had taken over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not going to be fun there.
An obligator. He'll be easy to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad. I keep thinking it's gonna be Vin's father, but he was already killed.
Yeah, he's gone.
You're hoping for like a Vin family reveal to randomly
Yeah.
enter.
Mm-hmm. I still wanted her brother to show up and her dad, and then also to
I
find
still
out that
think
her
you've got
mom is still
possibility.
alive.
I think you've still got possibility of her brother showing up someday, and I also think that I feel like there's something about her that makes her so good at this shit. I don't think. I mean, it could just be some people have a knack for it, but
I
with
think her
the
mom
earring
was
and her
weird.
mom, yeah, her mom calling her, "Oh, you're a blessed child," or it was something I don't remember, something like
She
that.
called her a queen and gave her a crown. Like,
Yeah, all that
She
stuff.
gave
I think
her
her
an
mom.
earring.
Yeah, the earring has been in play this whole book. They've referenced it
yeah,
every
I thought she
every
would
book
lose
at
it.
least once.
hmm
She took it off
So,
last book for when she went in the pool, I believe.
yeah, because it was
Um,
pulling off her ear.
so there,
All of the
in my
medals.
opinion, there's something about that earring that's important, but it could also be totally nothing. I really don't
The
know.
earring is a bead that you eat and
Um,
become a. Yes, it's a
I don't
bead.
know if it was that simple. Don't you? I think somebody would have sensed it at some point.
Why? Why would they sense it?
I think they
With
said it was made out of like brass or zinc.
yeah,
No, it's a bead.
stop.
Just kidding.
I
The
don't think
whole
it's going to be
time?
something that simple, Shada. I think it'll be a little
Okay,
different
okay.
than that. I also don't know because that could, depending on how it's written, that could also be super cheesy, and so
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. I really can't guess, but I think there's something with her lineage, something
What about
Yeah.
Vin's
that we
sister?
don't know.
Yep. Vin's earring is a small silver-plated bronze stud.
There you go.
What about Vin's sister? Do you think she's just dead, or
Did Vin have a sister? I don't
Yeah,
remember
the one
that.
her mom killed. You know what?
Oh
Like,
no, she's dead.
it'd be cool if her sister survived and she had the other earring. That would be cool.
She had to kill her sister because her mom got a prophecy that a female of the line will bring ruin to the world. There we go. I'm calling it. That's it right
Oh
there.
my gosh.
Totally canon. That's what it was.
Stop. My mind's going crazy with all these theories.
this
Her
is so much
sister,
fun
yeah.
live?
All right.
Um,
Back to the characters. So Sheeta said she had an idea for Alrian and Set. What about Ham and Spook?
oh yeah. I want to imagine Ham is happily with his family in hiding until they need him to like fight and lead. Probably back in Luthadel. I think Spook is probably leading some kind of army, Tin-Eye army, or I don't know.
Man, that army would suck.
Mm.
Sorry, but a bunch of people that just have like really bright vision, hear loud things, and feel things extra hard. That army would suck.
Well, he's training them to spread out, to be spread, just like how wasn't it Clubs who had a bunch of Tin-Eyes, like his Tin-Eye boys that kind of like were spread across as lookouts in the first book. That was a thing, right?
Yeah.
Now he's taken over Clubs' job to have that network kind of thing. I don't. But most importantly, I think he's finally got a girlfriend.
All right,
Justin?
Justin, your ideas
Well,
on the
I
people.
think Clubs is running the army back home or in charge of that. I
Clubs
don't
is
think anything's
dead.
changed. Or not Clubs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ham. I meant Ham. Then Spooks is probably I don't know that I'd believe that he'd take over that network. I don't know. It just doesn't seem in his personality. I think he's trying to find his place probably. Who else was I supposed to guess?
Alrian and Set.
Oh, I think they're gonna go with our main characters. At the very least, Alrian, probably Set too.
Also predict that Spook has now grown a beard as well.
Oh, I hope not. I don't want to see that little peach fuzz trying to come out.
Hey, he's probably almost 18 now, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and
like a year or two
18-year-olds are
younger
well
than
known
Vin.
for their ability to grow beards. Shit.
Yeah,
There's
maybe.
always like one kid in high school with a full beard, and then everyone else has like a peach fuzz mustache.
That kid,
Yeah.
that kid ain't gonna be Spook. That's all I'm saying.
All right, that's all my questions I really have.
I don't
Either
want to
of you?
ask any that might reveal things in the future.
Okay, so Justin and Sheeta, do either of you have any like theories or predictions you want to throw out there?
Pretty much just the same theories I've been doing, just added to be at a bigger level now that I know that they literally get the power of a god.
Hmm. There's just a lot of elements at play right now. I am formulating all these half theories, but I don't want to say anything until I learn more. But it seems like two uh forces are kind of gearing up to do a big war. Like the Ruin is starting his kind of gathering of forces, like making more Inquisitors and like killing more people. I think like what whoever he controls. I don't know if he controls like because he controls koloss, Inquisitors. I don't think Kandra count, but maybe yeah. I don't know who's who. But anyway, the other side is gonna be doing that too. So I I don't know. I just wonder where our characters will land between that.
And while you were talking, I thought of one other thing I wanted to ask you too. What's going to happen with Marsh?
Hmm. Oh,
I
you
think
know what?
eventually his willpower is going to be able to help them out in a teeny little way of either pausing at the right time or giving them info. I think that's about it. And then he'll die horribly. And it'll be kind of a
Jeez.
self-sacrifice.
No, I think
And
they'll
then,
meet and do a face-off, and Vin or Elend will use the same power they use to control the koloss to cleanse Marsh's mind of the evil that's trying to control him, and he'll join their side.
Hmm. It's interesting. See, what I hope happens is they capture him and they have some science-minded person study that, because I really want to know how those people work. Capturing a live one, I'm sure you could get some good information from.
You're gonna operate on Marsh, and
To help
like
him. To help him.
he's suffering. You have to do a freaking exorcism, like
An exorcism.
yeah.
I also have to wonder if you're able to purge whatever this force is, can he stay alive even, you know? Like what is really keeping him powered, you
That's
know?
true. He has
Cuz
spikes in his head.
yeah, we have a sense now that it's something to do with that those horrible torture things, but it really makes me wonder, you know, what are the rules here? Cuz I really don't know.
Well, metals keep you alive. Oh. Who said that?
It's ruin. Oh no.
Oh, he's crossed over into our world.
Mhm.
Yeah, the metals keep you alive to a point. So yeah, he might just die, but
No, we don't know.
I hope
I'm
not.
curious to find out.
All right, so I guess now we'll move on to our characters and quotes of the week.
Okay.
Whoever wants to throw out their characters.
Hmm.
I'm going to have to go with TenSoon because I got to hear what a lump of meat describes its situation as. And he talked in depth about rolling into his own excrement. All of that I found very, very interesting. And I liked how he was able to reform his skin and everything.
Yeah, I was also gonna pick TenSoon because he was a super badass and he seemed like the only competent Kandra. People like I like it when characters are underestimated and they're just like no problem.
wait, I'm sorry. You had one chapter of TenSoon that was basically like 2 pages, but we had 3 of Ellen's being a total awesome leader and 2 of Vin just absolutely killing it, and the Blob wins.
Yeah,
I
we're just
was
like,
really,
eh.
really close to picking Elend. Really close. But man, a living
Don't
lump of
forget,
meat, that's my thing right there, man. That's what I'm all for.
in the Final Empire, there was the chapter when Calcier is teaching Vin all about the metals and everything like that. Justin picked the mist wraith that they saw in the forest.
Yeah,
So see,
that's true.
I was already primed. I've got a living mist wraith as a main character who's also tied to the plot. Of course I'm gonna pick that.
Or in Elantris, when Justin picked Kalu. Not Raoden,
Kalu.
Kalu.
That one I can
Kalu
understand.
was the most entertaining thing ever in that chapter.
That was really fun.
I can't decide between Vin or Ellen's. And I know they're gonna get so many points this book.
We'll see. Depends how many chapters like I just got I get, I think.
I'm gonna take Ellen's because he is my boy, and I love him. and I can't wait to see more of him and see your guys' reactions to him. And also, Vin is the main character, and she will absolutely be the reason why she's the best, why she's the main character. So I'm going to pick Elend for this one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with Vin because she, same thing from the last book. She is my favorite character in, from the last book, and just her entrance alone, just Ellen's whole thing. Up there's my army. Then she just comes down and lands in the middle of everything. Like if that was a movie, that would be an awesome scene for the main character to just show up in.
Ooh, yeah, that was badass.
Very much so.
I'm sorry. Does that say Ruin has joined our Discord?
Yeah, I saw that. That was freaky to notice. I didn't want to panic you all, so.
I don't know what
That
you're talking
scared
about.
me. That's so scary looking. I was like, no.
All right. So now for quotes.
Okay, my quote is, with Ellen and Vin going into the city. Ellen has, and Fadric keeps like he just accused Ellen of trying to take over the city and he's bad and stuff. Um, Ellen gritted his teeth to keep himself from snapping at the man. The fatigue, the draining effect of leading an empire that seemed doomed, put him on edge so often lately. No, he told himself. Men like Fatrid need more than another tyrant. They need someone to look up to. Ellen approached the man and intentionally didn't use emotional allomancy on him. Soothing was effective in many situations, but it wore off quickly. It couldn't be used to make permanent allies. Then he goes on to give very good reasons for Fatrid to join him and to let of his leadership and to let yield to Ellen. I just thought that was really badass and nice to see that Ellen still has that part of him that would not force or twist someone's arm to join him, but use his personal skills and stuff like to make more permanent allies. I like that part.
Same. That was nice. I like,
Oh
again,
yeah.
I was a little worried Elend would be forced to be too, Machiavellian to win this thing. I'm glad that he gets to keep his own logic a bit and do what he's doing here.
Yes. Oh yes. So yeah, the main thing when Ellen got these powers was thinking, oh, he's gonna get corrupted. But to see that he has all this power to just make things happen the way he'd like, and he chooses not to use it, it just shows that he is trying to be a good person and trying to do it with some integrity.
And like I was saying before, like I love that even though he's the most powerful Animalmancer, he's not the best one. Vin outclass. If Vin and he were to fight to the death, like death battle rules, he would lose. But just because, like, even though he's more powerful, Vin absolutely knows how to use her metals.
Instinct, like raw talent is always gonna, or like that way is gonna beat the raw power, I think. And she's faced, like every big opponent she's faced is so much stronger than her already. So I totally believe she'd beat him easily.
All right. Next quote.
All right. I think this is from the same chapter. It's when they find the food stores and they see that the Lord Ruler was preparing for something. And Ellen says, yes, but the effort, the sheer scope of it all. You know what this means? What? Replies Vin. The Lord Ruler thought it could be beaten. The deepness, the thing that we released, the Lord Ruler thought we could eventually win. Vin snorted. It doesn't have to mean that, Elend. Then why go through all this? He must have thought that fighting wasn't hopeless. People struggle, Elend. Even a dying beast will keep fighting, will do anything to stay alive. I thought that was a really interesting thing because I was thinking the exact same thing as Elend and feeling some kind of optimism for something. And I like how Vin just tears it down and says, it's just natural to fight against the darkness even if there's absolutely no hope, and that even a mindless animal will do it. So comparing the Lord Ruler, who was basically a god, to just a mindless, scared animal really made this threat scary to me. To even think in that way.
Also, I thought it really illustrated the two's like how they look at the world, like glass half
100%.
empty and half full thing. Like the way she just her logic was just like, yep, nope, it just means that. Like, but compared to Ellen's more hopeful one.
Yeah.
Elend's looking for a reason to believe that they have hope here, while
Mm-hmm.
Vin is looking at things very pragmatically and thinking, well, it doesn't mean that at all,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
one of my
Elend's
favorite
not really-
sequences in here.
Yeah, Ellen's not really looking forward to like the end of everything. He's like, all right, yeah, we will go on. We have to think life before death.
That's why she keeps him around.
I would even say like the point of the Well of Ascension was like Elend was an optimist and needed to get some realism, while Vin was always a pessimist and she needed to understand there was optimism. There was light.
And then everything Vin learned about optimism turned out to be her being manipulated a bit, which is horrifyingly sad to learn. These books have been throwing our poor characters' moralities around. You're just giving them a lot of challenges, which is, of course, always good for a book to do to its characters.
Interesting, yeah.
I think my quote is pretty much right after yours. Quote, Kelsier's dead, Vin snapped. Am I the only one who sees the irony in that? We call him the survivor, but he's the one who didn't survive. He let himself become a martyr. He committed suicide. How is that surviving? I love this one because one of my favorite chapters in The Final Empire is that one where Vin finally gets angry and yells at everybody. And we now see how comfortable she is expressing herself. Being able to talk to someone and be like, I'm angry, I don't like this. Afraid that you're gonna leave me because of it anymore. And it also shows the paradoxical nature of religion and how Kelsier died, but he's the survivor, and through him we will all survive, and parables to real religions and all that. But it also shows that Elend is either through the fact he spent the last year being a part of the faith, or maybe he does semi-believe it. He is still in the Church of Survivor and does, at some level, believe in its teachings.
It's interesting that he would draw upon that when he's thinking about this stuff, because he only joined, to get their support in the election. It's interesting if those teachings have started to rub off on him a bit, since he's been... I know when he made that promise, he wasn't bullshitting. He was going to go actually do it, So yeah, that is quite interesting.
I also see that quote and just see it because Vin is still bitter about Kelsier dying.
Yeah.
She
To
was
call it
upset with him when
suicide was pretty, yeah.
and the way she
Right,
snaps, she cared about him so much and everything, and we've seen throughout Well of Ascension for most of it, she kept viewing Kelsier as, just in the negative until the one moment where she realized, he's good, and I think she's just got so upset that he died, and she's still a bit bitter about it.
And she's probably still feeling the weight of everybody calling her the heir and all that.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that if I were her at all. I love how much she finds the religious aspect distasteful, because she's like, he was just a guy to her,
All right, then my quote's going to be earlier while Vin was fighting the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor hit hard, cutting down one of Vin's stolen koloss with a pair of obsidian axes. It focused its sightless gaze on Vin, and despite herself, she felt a stirring of panic. A succession of distinct memories flashed in her mind. A dark sky, rainy and shadowed, spires and towers, a pain in her side. A long night spent captive in the Lord Ruler's palace. Kelsier, the survivor of Hathsin, dying on the streets of Luthadel. And then I'm just gonna, and then just later, just gonna jump because then it talks a little bit about Electrum. And then she just goes he pulled the massive wedge of the weapon aside with barely a glance. Kelsier had managed to defeat an Inquisitor, but only after a great deal of effort. He himself had died minutes later, struck dead by the Lord Ruler. No more memories, Vin told herself forcefully. Focus on the moment. I just like that segment where it's Vin, she's fighting a Steel Inquisitor, and then she's getting flashbacks to the times she has faced them before, and then seeing Kelsier fight and kill one, but then seeing Kelsier die. So all this stuff that happened to her, it's still flashing to her mind, but she's able to push it to the side to focus on the moment.
This part would look cool in a movie, because you get to see flashbacks to previous movie moments.
Absolutely. The one thing I would add, though, is if in Well of Ascension, when she was training with him, is if she asked him to practice with axes, so that she was mentally preparing herself to fight an Inquisitor.
in the
Yeah, true.
flashback. Yeah.
You could even throw a scene that'd be like a flashback between Final Empire and Well of Ascension, where she has Marsh train using axes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like that one episode of oh god, what was that called? The Tales of the Was that it, Sheta? The show about Ahsoka where the clone troopers
Oh,
train her
yeah.
for clones attacking her specifically.
Oh,
Oh,
sad. Yeah.
I forget
They're
what
like,
that show is
okay.
called though.
Wasn't it just like Clone Wars, or wasn't it just
Tales
like?
No,
of
it
the
wasn't
Jedi.
Clone Wars.
It was.
I think it was Tales of the Jedi.
Okay, yeah, that was sad.
Not knowing that they're teaching her something that's going to be so useful.
Yeah, against them. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
sad. But I'm glad we got to see that. That was good.
Mm-hmm. Same.
And also, this scene does still show like Vin is scared of Inquisitors. They are things to be terrified of.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's traumatic for her.
I'm glad they're
Yeah.
keeping that up. Because it's like, oh yeah, you beat one, but what about when 10 attack you at once? You know, like that's not going to go so well. So that they're taking him seriously, I really appreciate. When she chastises Elend, like, do you think you could have taken him? Like, you shouldn't have done that, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the thing that I kind of would be worried about, because you have it's how like movies and shows and stuff always go through. You have something that's built up as an enemy for like an entire movie, and then if there's a sequel, you just have it where, all right, we'll just have them beat it right away. Just show that's how much stronger they are now.
Well, like I said before, that's how the
But
Matrix did it. I'm glad they didn't go that route for this, because that worked there, but it doesn't work here.
With no power upgrade or anything. And Vin isn't able to do it alone. She needs Elend, who does have a significant power boost.
Though I always believed Vin would be able to do it. I always had faith in her.
Well, she did
I think
kill
it's
the
a
Lord
coin flip.
Ruler.
Exactly.
Yep.
Though she kind of had to cheat to do that a little bit.
I think the odds would have been better to Vin if like he didn't have the turtle shell covering his.
Oh yeah, that was bullshit. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, I think it's more 50-50. Maybe like a few percentages towards the Inquisitor.
Yeah, the turtle shell, that'd be like, rebels go to the Star. All right, and they put a covering on the exhaust port. Oh, shit.
Can't do
Means, yeah.
All right. So, anything else anybody wants to bring up about these chapters that we've read today?
Just excited to see where things are going to go if this is how we start.
Dang it.
that.
Dang it, what? Oh god, Ruin's laughing. Not a good sign.
Yeah. You should have an echo effect on your laughter.
Wish I did.
Now, I really wish that you weren't on today, because I have some things to say about Elend, and I don't want you to hear it.
Let's hear it. That's why he's here, Sheta.
No,
Let's
I'm
hear
really
your
sad.
Hit me.
Let's hear it.
No,
Sheeta, just say it.
no.
That makes good TV.
I was like,
You have
when
to.
you're like, oh, I love Elend, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to say this.
Well,
Let's
if
hear
that's
it.
the case, I'm going to listen to every single episode, so I will still hear it.
Yeah,
I know, but at
true.
least I won't have to hear like the reaction. In, like,
Come on, Sheta. You've already promised the best TV of the season. You have to give it to us.
Well, I think it's better for if somebody else could have a counterpoint, so it might change your opinion too.
All right. Okay, so this book started with Ellen coming in being super badass and a cool new beard, 2 new powers, like being all heroic and stuff. And I'm like, Vin comes in too, but it's like I was just kind of annoyed that, for me, I was very excited that Vin stayed like the main character throughout the last 2 books. And I was super excited. Get out, Emperor Elend Venture. Like, sorry, he has joined our Discord.
I didn't see that. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's a weird way to say that.
Okay, so I feel like Elend has stolen the show with just coming in as like the main character now. Like, so I was like, I love Vin being our main character and Elend showing up with superior powers and very big character growth and stuff like that, and kind of stealing the show and becoming the main character. I didn't like that.
I wouldn't
Oh!
say he's become the main character. Jeez.
He ate the bead, and
If
he was like,
anything, I'd say that it means that he can stay, keep up with the main character instead of just drifting off into, like, being a side character. That's how
yeah,
I
and
think of it.
I thought he was gonna die in the last book, and I thought that would be fitting. Like,
That would have sucked. I would not have liked
Thought
that
or
at all.
hoped?
I thought narratively, I would have thought that was stupid personally if he died.
yeah, sure. Now that everyone it had and the way it went with all these other characters dying, I didn't think he would die, but I had always thought that he might.
Yeah, but no, I would have just
Yeah.
thought, oh, then he's just a they're just fridging him, that term
Yeah. Yeah.
to have Vin have a good motivation, which I already thought she had, so I didn't think that'd be necessary. So I would have thought that was so stupid if they just killed him off for like some forced drama there.
Yeah. Then I
And-
thought, go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just
Being
gonna
attacked
say.
from all sides, Sheta.
Well, I was just gonna
I
say,
knew it.
just
I didn't.
I would say wait until you finish this book and then like really use that to evaluate whether you felt like Ellen took stuff away or not.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Yeah.
you are just 5 chapters in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And he needed he did get the upgrade. Like we want to
Mhm.
see what
Exactly,
he's
yeah.
at with his powers, blah blah blah.
100%. Blah, blah,
I
blah.
was like-
Jesus.
I completely understand like the fear of introducing, especially for like a female main character, introduce a male character that's stronger and worry that he's going to take the spotlight. But also, I think the 2 chapters that have been justifiably show like she is still the main character while he is just a main character because
Mhm.
she's the one that realizes how to kill the Inquisitor by taking control of the koloss. She's the one that's classified as an army unto itself that comes in to save them. He's a big gun, but Vin is a surgical knife that can do whatever they would need it to do.
Yeah, Vin is still good. I guess you know what this reminds me of is when they're like, actually, Supergirl's stronger than Superman. Like that's what it feels like. I know.
I think Joe's right. You got to wait until you read more of the book to see if that happens.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to see.
And who knows? Maybe we'll get to the end of the book and you'll be like, you know what? Sazed should have died. Or Elend. We're talking about Elend.
Yeah. Mhm.
No, him too.
Jesus.
All of them. Ruin should win. Absolutely. 100%.
Well, I mean, I still
No.
see that could be coming. There's always the chance.
Maybe he will.
You know, I feel like Brandon Sanderson might be doing this on purpose because you're right about my feelings about it being, oh, it's a cool guy. He's a typical main character, like a young man, coming of age, blah blah blah. Like he should be the main character of this series, but I was glad it was Vin. And now he's making it Ellen, and so maybe I'm feeling this on purpose.
I don't know, because I'm not feeling it, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
'Cause
I just
I'm
feel
not-
that threat.
I have not
As a girl.
thought anything Elian did made him seem like the main character of this book.
Oh, you know what? It's because I feel like I'm Vin, and I'm like, get out of here, Ellen. It's my book. Like,
That doesn't seem like how Vin thinks either.
that's me as Vin, Justin, not Vin.
You would be a pretty bad Vin, no offense.
Yeah, I know.
The other thing I think is that she's the one who's still kind of like worried about this stuff on a bigger scope than other people seem to be. I think that's the real big reason she's the protagonist. Because just like she was the one who's like, the deepness is the real threat, not all this little stuff. She's the one who's like, I think the atrium's tied to everything, like I think it's out, She's the one who's still seeing it as being a big, I don't know, worldwide threat in the same way she has for the last book too.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll move on to what we're reading for next week. So,
Well,
like I said,
Sheta, did you have any other complaints you
Oh.
needed to start a war over?
Not a war. Well, I
Dense
guess
fighting
now.
words.
Yeah. I'm scared. Okay, I guess I just also. They are now like a power couple because they're married now. Whatever. Like characters always get more boring when they're in a couple. in my experience. So I just don't want that to happen to these characters. So
This isn't a
I'm
freaking CW show where the plot stops as soon as characters get together. You know?
well, I don't know.
You know, I really like the Superman comics after he and Lois got married. I really like the Spider-Man comics after he and Mary Jane got married. In fact,
Well, to be
I
fair,
find
that
them
is after decades of time.
Reed and
And
Sue.
I like the
they,
Mistborn series after Vin and Elend get together.
all right, then Justin, Reed and Sue, they got married what, like 2-3 years after the comic started,
hmm
and that relationship never seemed to get.
Sounds like you got to go outside of superheroes to challenge what Sheta's saying.
Oh God, yeah, a lot of rom-com manga. Some of them do tend to go down if you have them become a couple in the middle.
Speed
Well,
and
luckily,
Trixie.
this is not a rom-com novel.
Mhm.
What's that?
Speed and Trixie.
From
Am I
what?
the only one? Am I the only one that's seen Speed Racer?
Oh no.
Oh, Speed Racer?
Okay, Speed Racer.
No, I haven't. I saw some episodes in the '90s, which was probably not an accurate dub, but I've not seen it anytime recently.
I've probably seen 2 combined episodes.
Go ahead then.
Yeah. So again, I'm hoping for that drama that I said last episode with Ellen and Temptation. So
No, God, no. Not happening. That's not this kind of book.
well, I can come in a different form, like power. It doesn't have to be a woman.
I don't know. Would Ellen be tempted by power? Like, is that even in his character? Like, even if it was a power to do good? Because we saw Vin was able to give that up. What would Ellen have done in the same situation? It's a curious question.
Vin said it once when they were gonna break up, and that Vin asks Ellen to leave the city with him, and he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna stay. This is my city and my people." He picked it over her, So he has very strong beliefs and things he cares about. So
Well,
I
also,
wonder.
we know that Elend gave up power initially when he created the whole concept of the government and the king being weak compared to the parliamentary
true.
system he created.
I wonder now that he
he's-
has. Yeah.
Now that he's seen how bad it was and how much he needs to have power in order to help people, would that change things?
Mhm.
exactly, he's already on the
Yeah.
path of
I'm
destruction.
curious if we're going to get answers to any of that stuff.
Maybe you will.
Or if that
maybe
just
you
won't be relevant. We'll see.
All right, so now we'll move on to next week's chapters. As I said before, this book has a lot of shorter chapters, so we will be doing chapters 6 through 13.
Jeez. You're just knocking out the entire part in 2 episodes?
Good. I want to get to the end.
Get the answers.
Yes.
Well, pretty much
Answers
how I've
continued in next book. Shit, this is a quadrilogy, actually.
I know
How
this is the big series.
It's going to be like Hitchhiker's Guide, the increasingly inaccurately named Mistborn trilogy.
All right. So 6 through 13 next week. So now we'll do plugs. We'll have Reader Warrior. You can plug your stuff first if you wish.
Oh, sure. As I mentioned before, I'm a part of the podcast Cosmere Connections. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Pod, Spotify, most places you can find podcasts. We also do read and review for the Cosmere series. We've done the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy. The final 3 episodes for Elantris should be coming out in the next 4 weeks. And then we're going to do some special episodes on the Wind and Truth release, and then we're going to cover the Emperor's Soul and then move on to Era 2. But our main thing is about how if you've read the series or if it's your first time, we try to give you a book point of view and how the book kind of gives it, not how with our inputs, whilst podcasts like these give here's how the readers would view things, which is fun in and of itself. But then we also have a spoiler section where we can talk about things that may have happened, things that may not have yet happened. Oh, here's a confusion thing I have about the magic system and all that. I also have a fan fiction account where I've done 2 Mistborn fanfics where Vin, when she steps in the pool and releases Ruin, she ends up on a different world. I've done one where she's in the Ruby world, RWBY, called Metalite Roses, and another one where she ends up in the My Hero Academia world called My Mistborn Academia. Very original.
I like the title.
Nice.
I didn't know the
And,
other worlds would be so exciting.
They may or may not contain spoilers for, at the very least, Hero of Ages, so I don't recommend picking them up until after you've at least read that.
Question is, do they contain spoilers for Ruby and My Hero?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Well, one thing I know about the My Hero fan community is that this means that Vin now gets shipped with every single male character in My Hero Academia.
Yep.
Because
Ooh,
everybody in
sounds
the
like
My
a-
Hero fandom ships.
It's a high school comic, Joe. Makes sense.
I don't think I've ever shipped anyone in there, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's a high school comic with very, very little romance in there for the amount of shipping people do.
That's why it has to come out in shipping, Justin. Or Joe. Yeah. People need to get that out of their system if they don't get it.
I've already
All right.
got it in my mind who Vin ends up in that world. Because you also have to remember that in Vin's point of view, she left Ellen to die.
Oh God, no! That's so sad. That didn't even register in my head.
Ooh.
Yeah, Vin really would then have to wind up with that the kid that shoots the beams out of his stomach.
No.
Who basically
But the-
represents a noble.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
not a
it's-
noble like Elend.
That is not Vin's type.
No, it's not. All right, Justin, Sheta, now it's time for your plugs that you love doing every week.
I do.
Sorry. You know Vin's got to
Follow-
end up...
Huh?
Wait.
Oh God,
Sorry.
what are you doing,
Vin-
Sheta? No.
You know Vin's gonna get with... She'll like All Might. He's the most like Kelsier. He's even blonde.
Oh God, no.
Justin,
You went to like
plugs
one of
now.
the... Anywho, you can follow me at ProfanityBeaver on Instagram, X, DeviantArt, and if there's another one, you can follow me there too. And you can see various art and comics. And you could find some My Hero fan art back there, to be on topic. Not any Ruby fan art yet, though, but maybe I should do some of that.
Yeah, you still have time.
Time until what?
Before this episode comes out.
Oh, well, no, because then I would be lying.
All right, you can find my art on Instagram at Sheta_low. And I have my other Instagram, Mermaid Machete, where I post cosplay and outfits and other various things like that.
All right, then for the overall show stuff for Cosmere Chronicles, if you want to leave us a rate us, thumbs up, whatever the podcast place you're listening to us is, go ahead and do that. Find them. I'll try to read the reviews live on the air, live to tape. You can follow us on Key, a most ancient letter, formerly known as Twitter, at Cosmerechron, COSMERECHRON. Or you can follow us, Cosmere Chronicles, on Blue Sky. Usually, all I do is I just post when new episodes are up, or for the wrap-up episodes, you can see the covers and the fan casting pictures that we use. And lastly, if you want to talk to us directly, more a way that I can for sure be able to see it, CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. That's our email. So we have all that. As I said before, it's time. Hero of Ages, chapters 6 through 13. So, yep, everyone, go out there and, have fun and have a rather enjoyable week if you want to.
You can always choose happiness.
I hope
my
you have
little-
a terrible time. I'm just going to be honest.
Ruin.
Be like Ellen. Choose hope.